Hello learners, welcome to the course of Fundamentals of Economics and Financial Market. I am Dr. Parul Jain, Assistant Professor in Economics at DAV Postgraduate College, Varanasi. Let's further discuss the topic money supply and inflation. In the last two lectures of money supply, we have understood what is money, functions of money, qualities of a good money, Gresham's law, and the 5 approaches to money supply and the factors that determine these approaches. Today, we'll be dealing with the topics of inflation, types of inflation, the concept of inflationary gap, and demand pull and cost push inflation. Before we actually start with what is inflation, let us discuss about two things, that is price and value. In economics, when we see price and value, price is the price of a product, that is that monetary amount that we give to purchase a product, and value describes the purchasing power. So, price and value share an inverse relationship. When we say that the prices are going up, that means the value of money is going down. Say for example, I have 100 rupees with me, and in 100 rupees, I am able to purchase a unit that is costing 10 rupees each. Now, if the price of that unit, that good, is 20, then how many units will I will be able to purchase? I'll be able to purchase, earlier I was purchasing 10 units, now I'll be able to purchase only 5 units of that particular good. That means my real income has gone down. Real income implies when my money income is divided by price, that is the real income in terms of economics. So, if the prices of a product are rising, that means the value of money is going down. With this, let us discuss few things about inflation. Now, what is inflation? Because inflation is a term that we hear and an important aspect in the economy. If rising highly, then a worrisome situation that needs to be controlled and targeted as well. In words of Crowther, when we define inflation, he said, inflation is a state in which the value of money is falling, as we discussed, and the prices are rising. Obviously, they share an inverse relationship. Hawtrey associated inflation with issue of too much currency. Thus, in words of Crowther and Hawtrey, we say inflation is a monetary phenomenon related to money that is characterized by high prices. However, when we see and study Ackley Johnson and Milton Friedman, they define inflation a little differently. In words of Friedman, he says inflation is not only characterized by high prices, he said it is a steady and sustained rise in prices. That means slowly the prices are rising. A steady and sustained. It is not that price has risen and stopped at a particular point. We also keep in mind the rate of change of prices. Gardner Ackley and H.G. Johnson defined inflation as a persistent and appreciable rise in general price level. So, please concentrate on this, that inflation is what? It is a process of rising prices and not of high prices. That means price has risen, it has stopped at a particular place, will not clearly define that as an inflation, but it is a process rather than a phenomenon. Now, the most important thing in inflation is why this inflation is happening and what are the names that can be given to these inflations. So, on the basis of emergence of inflation or the reason that is responsible for rising prices, inflations have different concept. The first and foremost is currency inflation. if the people are having more currency, as in money supply we have studied M1 approach, currency with the people. If people are having more currency, the households are having more currency with them, they'll have more purchasing power. The demand will grow, resulting in high prices. So, expansion of currency leads to high prices. Another reason is expansion in bank credit. See, if the banks reduce the rate of interest at which they are giving credit to the people, more number of people will take loans. Credit would expand. People will have money supply in their hands. They will have purchasing power, and that would ultimately result in rise in prices. Sometimes the inflation is deficit induced as well. Deficit is what? To be simple, we say when the government expenditure exceeds the revenue, although we have different concepts of deficit in the form of gross fiscal deficit, revenue deficit, primary deficit, net primary deficits. However, in a broader sense, when we define, and to be simple to understand, when we say deficit is what? When the expenditure is growing over and above the revenue, that is the income that is generated by the government, then it is a scenario of deficit. Now, to fill this deficit, government uses various tools, takes various steps in the form of taking loans from other countries. That means the inflow of cash is there in the economy. Earlier, before these reforms took place in 1991, another way of deficit financing was printing of new currency. That we have discussed, that RBI has the power to print, has the monopoly in note issue. The government releases treasury bills to the RBI, and RBI, keeping certain amount of gold and bullion, then prints the new currency. In that way, sometimes when you are financing your deficits, money supply increases in the economy, and it leads to expansion of purchasing power, and the prices rise as a result of increase in demand more than the supply of that particular product. Sometimes this inflation is profit induced. That means change in the profit margins leads to rise in prices. In the process of production, when the product is produced, there are certain costs associated in the form of factors, in the form of labor, in the form of raw material, in the form of method of production, process of production, and the product, when we get the product, a certain amount as MRP is printed on that, inclusive of all taxes. In that MRP, certain profit margins are there of the producer, of the manufacturer. If the profit margin rise, then what happens? The price of the product rises, and the result is inflation. Sometimes the inflation is wage induced. One side of the economy is demand side, the other one is the supply side, and labor is in the supply side of the economy. When the labor witnesses that the prices are rising, it can ask for more wages. When the wages of the labor increase, the production cost increases, resulting in rise in prices. So that is wage-induced inflation. Another category, concept of inflation that we discuss is open inflation. Open inflation doesn't happen every time, but a situation may arise that the prices are allowed to rise without being suppressed, without any interventions by the banks, by the government into it. What Friedman told, the similar technique. However, this is a rare case that open inflation, a government allows open inflation in the economy, but it can happen. Another concept is the creeping inflation. Creeping, walking, running and galloping. Basically, these inflations relate to the rate of inflation that is going on in the economy. When the prices are rising slowly, say 2% to 4% they are rising, it is called creeping inflation. A little higher rise in prices leads to walking inflation. Very fast increase in prices, that is, the process is going on at a very fast, very high pace. It is running and when you get a terrific speed like running of a horse, it is called hyperinflation when the inflation goes in double digits. However, here I would like to mention the comment of Professor Koyana. He said that hyperinflation is generally caused when the consumer or investor is having high marginal propensity to consume. Now, what is this high marginal propensity to consume? Further in my lectures, when I'll be dealing with consumption, I'll be dealing with MPC as well. But here, I'll give you a little idea of MPC. MPC, when we define MPC and describe it, we say MPC is change in consumption due to change in income. That means when my income is increasing, consumption is also increasing. Generally, the MPC's value lies, MPC is less than 1 but greater than 0. But if MPC reaches 1, that means whatever amount we are having a hike in the salary or the income, the whole amount we are spending, or even we are spending more than that, then what will happen? The demand would grow exorbitantly and the prices would go high. So this is hyperinflation. Inflation can be also suppressed or repressed. That means when the government interventions directly control the price system. The government intervenes either through fiscal policies or through monetary policies in the form of qualitative, quantitative controls that government exercise to control inflation, to manage inflation. For example, I have given you rationing of amount if the government does, then it is called suppressed or repressed inflation. Inflation sometimes can be latent as well. That means situation that arise when large amount of savings or funds, especially during the war, come into existence and await spending. Sometimes, yeah, you can understand this well when the war is going around. What do the wealth holders feel? A very pessimistic aptitude and attitude develops in the wealth holder that where should we spend? Like it happened in COVID. In COVID, a wave of pessimism was there. People were having various issues. They don't know where to spend, where to go. They are not allowed to go to public places. So at sometimes what happens when these kind of situations are over, the urge to spend, the wealth, the amount that has not been spent by the people and are awaited, suddenly the spending increases, the money supply increases, the velocity of circulation becomes high and the prices rise. A markup inflation also becomes a reason for increase in prices. When the firms and the labor feel that they are not being paid according to the aggregate demand that is being there in the economy, they increase, they mark up their cost. So the prices increase. Sometimes inertial inflation also occurs when the rate of price increase attains a stable equilibrium until a shock is administered. Prices are going on at a stable rate, but suddenly economy witnesses a shock, maybe in the form of technological shock, that is a supply side shock, or maybe in the form of sudden increase in demand. In long run, maybe the attitude of people, maybe the consumption behavior of the people changes and a shock is witnessed by the economy. A hybrid inflation is also a concept of inflation which includes deflation, reflation, disinflation and stagflation. These all we'll be doing when we'll be going to Philip curve. A double dip or W-shaped recession is also witnessed sometime. That means recession is when the economic variables are not responding properly, or when we say interest rates are going down, people are not investing, parties creeping in the economy, unemployment is there in the economy, a wave of recession, a cycle of business that we are witnessing. So a W is formed. For some period of time, what happens? A recovery is seen with a quick decline. So when we see double dips, this and this, two dips when we witness in an inflationary pressure, it is termed as double dip recession. These were the certain concepts of inflation. Another thing what Keynes discussed, this inflationary gap was given by Keynes, John Maynard Keynes. He gave an important aspect of inflationary gap. What is this inflationary gap? To be simple, we'll say when demand rises over and above the supply and results in rise in prices because of high demand which is not backed up by that amount of supply, it is called inflationary gap. To make it understand, inflationary gap shows a situation in the economy when demand exceeds available output or supply. Now, how come this demand increases? Demand can increase on account of increased investment. Capital investment is increasing in the economy because marginal efficiency of capital is high and production is more, so it will lead to demand. Government expenditure is more. Government expenditure in the form of government, when we define government expenditure or public expenditure, it is any kind of expenditure that is incurred by the government on the economy or itself. See, government can provide subsidies. Suppose I am buying a cylinder that was costing 1000 rupees and 400 rupees was the subsidy given by the government and 600 I had to pay. But the government increases the subsidy and says now we'll pay 600 rupees. So what would happen? My real income would increase by 200 because now I am paying only 400 rupees for that cylinder. So government expenditure increases, my purchasing power would increase by 200 rupees. That will result in increase in my real income. So I can demand more, my consumption expenditure can go up and that would ultimately result in more demand, not backed by supply, and the prices will rise. So when the price continues to rise so long, then the gap exists. This Keynes explanation can be shown with the help of a graph also. On x-axis we are taking income as one of the variables. On y-axis we are taking consumption, that is C, investment, that is I, and government expenditure, that is G. This is the long run consumption income curve. C is equal to Y, that is at 45 degrees. C is your consumption curve, short run consumption curve. Now what happens? Government, the economy is in steady state at C plus I plus G. That means the overall expenditure in the economy that is forming the demand side is consumption plus investment plus government spending. At this rate, what happens? Suddenly government increases its spending, the investment increases. So earlier you were at point B, now your consumption which was at C plus I plus G, the consumption rises to C plus I plus G dash. G dash here basically implies that this increase in consumption is because of change in government spending from G to G dash. But the supply is not increasing. So the AB amount, this line AB, is your inflationary gap that has occurred because the government expenditure has led to increase in demand, resulting in increase in prices. So the concept of inflationary gap came into existence. Broadly, when we classify inflation or the types of inflation that we discuss, one is on the demand side and the other one is on the cost side or the structural part of the economy. When we talk of demand, we say that the changes in aggregate demand that are responsible for rise in prices. This type of inflation is called demand pull inflation. So, according to this general theory, when general price level rises, and the reason for this increase in price level is the increase in demand for goods and services. However, this increase in demand is not backed or supplemented or complemented by supply. That means D is greater than supply. Demand is greater than supply, so there will be a shortage and the price would increase. See, this can be explained with ISLM function. ISLM is, IS stands for investment and savings. So I am writing it investment and savings. Whereas L stands for liquidity and M stands for money supply. This is a concept that determines, see, ISLM is drawn like this. When we say on x-axis we are taking income and on y-axis we are taking rate of interest. This is your IS curve and this is your LM curve. This is how it is drawn. Changes in LM are due to changes in the monetary policy, whereas changes in IS are changes due to fiscal policy. That means when the government changes in the rate of taxation, when the government changes in the public expenditure, when the government changes in the debt, these tools are responsible for changing or shifting in investment and savings. Whereas bank rate becomes a very important tool for witnessing any kind of change in the LM. So when we talk of demand pull inflation, we are taking a variable that government expenditure is increasing, leading to increase in income of the individuals, leading to increase in aggregate demand, which is not complemented by supply, and the prices are increasing. So how we can show this? On x-axis we are taking income, y-axis is your rate of interest. Here on x-axis we are taking demand and supply, on y-axis we are taking price. Your economy is at equilibrium. See, this is the LM curve and this is the IS curve. Economy is in equilibrium at point E. At this point, a certain amount of supply is there in the economy and a certain amount of demand is there, that is shown by Y1, your income, and at price level OP1. When the government increases its expenditure, when the government expenditure increases, either the taxes are reduced by the government, so the real income of the individual increases, or public expenditure is enhanced, or debts are liquidated, that is government is taking less amount of internal debts from the individuals. So IS curve will shift from IS to IS1. You are moving from E to E1. When you are moving from E to E1, what would happen? The real income will increase, because supply of goods in short period of time, till Keynes it was assumed that there exists a flow in employment. Basically means that all the resources that are there in the economy have been utilized. So see, when the income is Y1, your supply is still increasing. You go to Y2, the price goes to P2. Further, when still government expenditure is there, you are shifting from IS1 to IS2. Then again your real income is increasing, a supply is increasing, but not in the same proportion as increase in income and change in demand. So that would again result to increase in price. Further, when IS is shifting from IS2 to IS3, similarly the income goes on from Y3, Y4, Y5. So the price is also increasing. Here what happens is after P5 you are seeing that your supply curve becomes vertical. That is, you further cannot increase at all the given resources. So the demand income changes are more than the changes in supply. That would lead to increase in demand and the supply is not changing. Thus, the reason for increase in prices, what we are seeing is the change in demand. This is called the demand pull inflation. Demand is pulling the prices up. The other side is the structural or cost push inflation. Why do we say cost push? Cost is on the supply side, so we are pushing up the prices. On demand we were pulling. Demand is on the other end of the economy. Supply is on the structural side of the economy. So it is pushing the prices. So this concept of inflation is also called new inflation, which arrived in 50s. Now this theory, what basically this theory says, that as we discussed, that instead of being pulled up by excess demand, what are we doing? The prices are pushed as of rise in cost of production. That means cost of production, labor is there, the cost of raw materials are there, the cost of machinery is there, the cost of land is there, the cost of capital is there. For example, 3-4 items I am mentioning, if the cost of production is increasing, then what would happen? The prices would go up. So the prices rises, especially in the cost of raw material and wages. This kind of inflation is purely supply or cost push inflation. So basically, when we identify the causes of cost push inflation, two causes came around. One is higher money wages secured by labor income. When the labor is demanding more wages, see, the return of the factor of production labor is wages. What they are getting as amount, remuneration for their work or services they are rendering. When the wages are high, labor demand for high wages, then what would happen? Cost of production will increase, leading to increase in price of the product. Or a high price can be secured in the forms of monopolistic or oligopolistic inflation. Monopoly is any kind of market situation where you have one seller, large number of buyers. Price discrimination is practiced, so he can change his profit margins easily because the product is not having a very close substitute, so the consumer is not able to shift to any other product. So the profit margins can be increased. So one of the reasons for price increase could be increase in profit margin, or sometimes in oligopolistic industries like your flights, air space. That is an example where few sellers and large number of buyers are there. So at that point of time, the prices can also be shifted or increased, and the reason behind that is change in the profit margins of the manufacturers. This can be explained. See, x-axis पे we have taken output, y-axis पे we have taken demand and supply. Your DD is the demand curve for a particular product or output. S1S is the supply curve. At this, the price in the economy is P1. If the supply function, see, with no change in demand, the supply moves from S1 to S2. What will happen? The output would reduce from O1 to O2. Then supply is less than demand in the economy, so the prices will go up. Why? The output, the reduction in supply is because of maybe labor has charged higher wages, so the entrepreneur is not able to hire many wages, the cost of raw material have increased, so the entrepreneur must have reduced the production output, so the supply has changed from S1 to S2. Prices would increase. Again, if the supply curve shifts to S3, what would happen? The prices would further increase to P3. This process continues still further upward shift in supply function. So, this change in supply, reduction in supply, because the factors of production are requiring higher cost, so the cost of production is increasing, is termed as cost push inflation. So this is the structural or the supply side inflation, and the other one is the demand side inflation. So these are basically two types of inflation that we see in the economy. Further, in the lecture we will be discussing control of inflation, what the government has done, and a relationship between unemployment and rate of change of money wages, that is the Philip curve, short run, long run Philip curve that will make you understand the concept of inflation, the types of inflation, the policy measures that can be adapted, and Philip curve that holds an important part in inflation. For today's session, I'll give you a self-evaluating question: demand pull or cost push? Which can be better controlled using a monetary policy? This is a question to you. Understanding this inflationary concept, you should be able to write this question and answer this question. So, thank you dear learners for today's session. Next, lecture 4 will be meeting with control measures.